Alright, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh with the part 3. This is my parenting series. Very short little advices on what you may or may not be doing. If you're doing them already, mashallah, may Allah allow us all to be better parents, especially the speaker. Because I'm on the road a lot and my wife actually raises my kids. So a lot of this content is from her as well. That she, reminded me of different things. So I'm sharing them all with you. Luqman is a cool example from the speech of Allah. Allah found him important enough to mention him in the Quran. So we're talking a little bit about him and some of the very valuable gems that he shared with us when he was alive. So when Luqman was ya'idhuhu, talking to his son, he was advising him, we tend to think that advice is just us yelling at people sometimes as parents, especially if we come from certain countries where, questioning your parents isn't an option. You do what you're told and that's it. Well, in North America, and I'm probably assuming the UK as well, and Western countries in general, we don't deal with things like that. We question our parents. Right or wrong, we question them. That's how the culture is here. You ask questions. And asking questions, by the way, is how you learn. There's a way of asking questions, though, and I'll talk about that another time. But Luqman is ya'idhuhu. He's advising his son. He's giving him maw'idah, advice. Advice is not necessarily yelling. Advice isn't screaming. Advice isn't shouting. Advice sometimes is listening. Knowing what the pressures of your child is. What are they going through? They have peer pressure in schools. They have cyberbullying in schools. Are people picking on them? You have to know what it is that you're advising about. If I see that, if I'm gonna advise my child about hijab and they're not praying, it doesn't make sense to talk to them about hijab. Salah is first. You don't talk about hijab when salah is first. So you have to know exactly what you're talking about, what you're advising them about. Ya'idhuhu. And Luqman is actually doing that with his son. He's advising him. He's telling him things. And we're going to talk about those things in the next few videos. But this is an amazing, thing that you have to understand, is that you need to be advising your child. Because if you're not, somebody else is. Either their friends are, their peers are, their teachers in school are, the role models in the music that they listen to are, the video game. Well, if a video game can, I guess it could show you things, subliminally or whatever, or the movie stars are. So you need to be advising them. And that advice is with kindness. We used to have a saying, years ago, and it's a cool saying, is if they can't treat you right, then they can't teach you right. And if you love your child, you're going to advise them. And if you can't advise them, then you need to find someone who can. Because sisters, one of the things that, your role as a mom is so crucial and so important. Muhammad ﷺ mentioned you 3 times before he mentioned the dad. Who's first? Your mother. Second, your mother. Third, your mother. Fourth, your father. But that's the one thing that you can't be. And you can be a lot of great things. You could be a great mom, mashallah. But you can't be dad. So that male role model needs to be there. For the boys especially. And brothers, if it is that you're allowed to see your kids, and if you're in the home, thank Allah for that. But if you're not, even if you divorce their mom, you still need to be in their life because they need someone to advise them. Even your daughters, don't think this is just for the brothers. It's not, because the daughters need advice too. She's going to pick a man based on her father. And if she doesn't have a father around her, then she's going to pick a man based on something else. So if you want your daughter to pick properly a male role model or a man as a husband, then be that male role model. Brothers, you are your son's first hero and your daughter's first love. She's going to pick a man based on you. So if you're absent, you're not advising them, you don't care, you just run around and do your thing, and you're out working 18 hours a day, that's fine, and you're providing, but you also need to be there to advise them. Muhammad ﷺ said, ad-din al-nasiha. He said, advice, religion is sincere advice. And Luqman is doing that. He's advising his son. And if you can't do it for whatever reason, you need to find someone else who can. And this is why I talked about mentorship a few weeks ago. Mentorship is very important. Find a local imam who can, a speaker who can, Find someone who, and there's counseling services. I know of one in Toronto. You need to look them up. MuslimYouthMedia@gmail.com. That's a youth mentorship program run by my brother Abu Shahada. He's in Toronto. If you're there, look him up. Muslim Youth Media. Strictly Sunnah clothing. That's what he puts out, and he mentors the children and the young brothers very, very well. Now, sisters, I don't know of any mentorship programs for you guys, but I think it needs to be started. You know, Ibrahim Downey, another one from Toronto, working extensively with the youth for 30 years now. So there are programs out there in the city where I come from. You need to look for them in your own city, inshallah, because sincere advice is important, as Luqman was advising his son. And you need to be advising your children nicely. Nicely. Don't yell at them, curse at them. And I'm going to talk about cursing at them in the next video. Don't yell at them and judge them all the time. Listen to them sometimes. Advice is a two-way street. You need to know what you're talking about. Know what you're talking about. If your children, they see things you'll never see in this country. Never. I grew up here, and I grew up in North America. And we know things that y'all never learned. We know things that we shouldn't know. And in these countries, we're forced to grow up way, way too fast in a lot of cases. So you need to know about that. You need to learn what your children are going through. Because Muslims, we tend to bubble our children. We tend to put them in these bubbles where either we're very overprotective or we are very loose with them. And there's a middle. And you need to know the culture and know about that, so that when you advise them, you do it properly. And if you can't do it, then you get someone else who can. Jazakumullahu khairan. As we said, Luqman al-Hakim was advising his son, Ya'iduhu. And I'm going to talk about what he was advising him about in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.